Welcome back everyone. Look at this crazy Cannondale, 2002. What were they thinking? Aero. Crazy looking bike. To be fair, this bike doesn't even need a service, but I saw it at a customer's house when I collected another bike for service, and I couldn't resist it, so I borrowed it for a purpose of this video. We'll give it a strip down, a clean, some fresh bar tape, and see what it's all about. As you can see, I'm a bit of a fan of old Cannondales. 1989 red shred here, Super V 2000, and a 1992 Beast of the East. So I do love old Cannondales. This thing's just crazy. I saw it at a customer's house and I just asked if I could borrow it because I've never seen anything quite so ridiculous. 2002, it's aluminium, it's not carbon. And obviously purely designed in the name of Aero, Multisport 700, 2002. And it's got Shimano 105 mostly, and some Tiagra components, and some Cannondale own brand parts. It's a bit crazy, but I think it will polish up really nicely, and yeah. But like I say, service-wise, the customer doesn't actually use this bike, it just hangs in their wall on their garage, but I'm just going to try and get it looking cosmetically perfect. There's some old accessories that are not used on the bike. The bar tape's in very poor condition, so obviously we're going to change that. And straighten the bars to a proper angle, and just see how good we can get it to look. But yeah, it's an interesting looking bike. Any tool geeks out there wanting me to do any sort of video on tools, I'm quite happy to do that for you. I have many. I'm quite happy to talk about different brands, etc. Okay, so this seat post is pretty much stuck. So it does rotate, but it looks like someone put the wrong size in or something, because there's no way that's coming out there. It does rotate very slightly, but considering the customer's never going to use it, I'm not going to spend the next 3 hours trying to get it out. There's just no point. Luckily, my work stand does clamp wide enough for this. So this I think it's our 5000 series 105. Actually working pretty nicely, to be fair. Like I say, it's not really in for service, it's just in for a cosmetic overhaul, really. Make it look as good as it might hanging on the wall. Quite an eye-catching bike too. Working really well. Let's get the wheel out and start cleaning things up. Yes, these are Cannondale's own brand wheels, hubs, and Maverick rims. So I'm going to take all this rubbish off, and nobody's using it anymore. And it just looks a mess. So it's Cannondale's own brand Coda brakes again. These are a little bit sticky, that could just be the cable. I'll disconnect that and check, but a little bit slow on the return there. Pretty cheap calipers, I think, to be fair. It's a shame they didn't put the 105 on to match the rest of the bike. Quick release on the wrong side, no big deal. Again, Coda hub Maverick rim. GP 4000 tyres, these are a bit on the old side, 23C as well, so you can tell it's an older bike. Nobody really uses that now. Front brake, not too bad either. Bit of corrosion on the bolts, but not much we're going to be able to do with that, unfortunately. It does have Shimano's flight deck system. I think you used to be able to plug a computer into this. Basically, there's a little socket in here, you plug it into the computer, it gives you more information around gears, etc. Not been connected on this bike though, so we'll clean this bar tape up and reveal the logos back on the bar, make it look a bit nicer. See if we can get some shiny bolts for this as well. And get rid of this old computer mount thing. We'll take off these cranks. So I think these are Octalink, which is sort of a later version of the square taper before they went to the proper sort of hollow tech one piece. Wow, that's tight. Yeah, so it is Octalink. You don't see many of these around now. It's a bit of a fad for a few years. So part two will do a different version for Octalink. It's got a much wider end on here. You can use an older one and wedge like a coin in there to press against. If you just use a normal one without it, it just pushes itself down the middle of the axle and you can't get it off. So, but there's a little washer in there you need to take out first. That came out with a bolt on this one. And it just comes off like a normal crank. Old-fashioned crank, so to speak. And so that's the Octalink design with these splines here instead of the square taper. Yeah, just get these bits off, they're not used anymore. Yep. Magnet on the crank as well, it's not very well fitted. Off. For this as well. And return them to the customer, but they're not using it. So I am going to fit a new cable to this back brake. It's just a bit too sticky, really. You can see a bit of corrosion on it. Put a stainless cable in there. Yeah, you can see all that dust comes out there, just corrosion. And the caliper itself feels a lot better now, so it's definitely the cable. We'll refit these cable donuts, they just stop the cable rattling on the frame, basically. So while we've got the bar tape off, we'll change this cable outer. It's the only real opportunity you get to do it on a road bike. So I'm guessing they got this bike from Europe, because in the UK the front brake is normally on the right hand side, whereas on this one it's the other way around. So we're going to swap those over while we've got this bar tape off, get it back to UK spec. Like I say, it's never going to be used, but let's just get it right for the customer. Let's get this rubbish off. This is old lidded skins apparently. Guess what's going back on? AliExpress. I think we're going to put a foam tape back on this rather than a sort of waterproof all-season tape. Just look a bit nicer, and it's going to have black tape as well. I'm still on a mission to ban white bar tape. It just looks horrendous. It looks good for about a week, and then look at the state of it. Just pull this lever hood back. It should be illegal. I don't know why manufacturers ever put it on. Terrible. It's not even taped on, so this groove here is where your cable sits, and there should be some tape holding that in place. Well, this is the laziest bar wrap job ever. Someone's left some black lizard skins underneath this white tape, so we won't be using that. The bar's pretty clean actually. Quite often you've got a lot of tape on there. So as you can see from the bikes hanging up in the background, I come from a mountain biking background, so wrapping handlebars was a bit of a nemesis of mine, but I think I'm about there now with figure of 8 and stuff. So don't matter with handlebar wrapping tape, but no matter how many times you do it, someone will always tell you you're doing it the wrong way, wrong direction, top to bottom, etc., etc. To be fair, I've done many bars now. Never had a customer come back and said it's fell off. So I don't like the angle of these levers. They're way too high up on the bar, so you can either drop the bar down to a different angle, or we can move these levers down. I think they're just sitting a bit too high on the bar. So I'm going to just move the lever down. Use a T-handle 5mm. There's a little groove where you can get that into the bolt and just loosen it off. See, that's a far more realistic position for them. The best way to get it is just the ball end T-handle through this slot here. Just move the other one now. So to make sure we've got the levers level, we're going to take this out and we're going to fit this gadget here. I'll show you what that does. Should come out now. There we go. So this then screws into the top of the fork. It's made by BSC Tools. I think quite a few other people make the same thing there. It just screws in there. Then what you do is you screw in your derailleur alignment hanger gauge tool into the top of that. You can see where this is going. Squeak. Then all you need to do is set one of these to the top of the lever, just as if it was a derailleur. So set that into the top of the lever, and we just swing that over to the other side and see what we're looking height wise. So this just needs to go down a tiny bit. The Allen key's still in there, so we can drop this down. It's fine. A couple of degrees in on both of those, and they're looking nice now, so we'll just tighten this up. Looks good. So with the brake levers, don't do them too tight. The idea with the brake levers is if you have an accident, you want it obviously to be tight enough not to move in normal use, but if you have an accident, rather than snapping these levers off, you would like the lever to move inwards and just end up with a scratch rather than being snapped off. And we'll just take that out and refit the headset top cap. I'm not taking the headset out because it feels super smooth. Just a drop of grease on this bolt while it's out there. And whiz that back in. Looks about level. So there's no need to adjust this headset tension because this bottom bolt is still tight, so doing this now is doing nothing at all. So it just needs to be tight enough to not fall out basically. Tighten these up. This is sort of before they started putting torque settings on stems and stuff, so we're around about 6 Newton meters. I didn't have any bolts for this unfortunately, so I've just tidied these up in the grinder. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. So when we wrap the bars, we're going to wrap it to this edge here rather than going over all the writing like it was. Okay, so we're just going to change these brakes over now. Like I say, this should be the front on a UK bike. It's actually currently on the rear, and the rear cable we are replacing. So So what we're going to do is, because this cable, most of it's in good condition, it's just a bit that was exposed on there, we're going to use this existing rear brake cable as the front brake cable. Doing that, we'll be able to just chop off the corroded piece and end up with a pretty decent cable, to be fair. Just going to run some Shimano cable grease on it as well. Okay, that's done. Make sure it locates back in the lever. That's in. Do need quite a good push into this lever normally. Just drop this down to the front caliper. Like I say, so this part here is still good, shiny stainless steel. The corrosion starts exactly here, so that's good. So we can chop this piece off and end up basically with a new cable on the front. This old front cable is now going to be replaced with a rear brake cable and run it to the back, if that makes sense. Just threads through there, there's a little holder in there, comes straight out the other end. So we're just going to leave this loose for now until we've finished polishing the frame in that area. Otherwise it's just going to get in the way. So just loop it up out of the way for now. Try not to leave your lever hoods folded back like this because you end up with the creases in there. So put them back when you've finished doing what you're doing. I think I'm going to replace this chain. It doesn't need it, but cosmetically it's not doing the bike any favours because it's a bit rusty. So I'm just going to, there's no quick link on this, it is an older type of chain. So just split that. So I'm going to pull these derailleurs as well just so we can give them a good clean. We'll put them in the ultrasonic. We'll try and save this gear cable at the same time because I say they're in really good condition. So just cut off the minimum cable you can where that crimp is there. If you cut behind that, the rest of it will fall off. So you're saving this much cable. And this will just pull off now. It's a good clean cut, so I'll undo this and pull it through. That's good. And just take it off. There's a few scratches in this, so I don't think it's going to clean up 100%, but get it a bit better than it is. We'll do the front as well because the cable routing is dead easy. And just drop this cable out so we've got a bit more space to clean underneath. Same on the front, you don't need to take the end cap off on this one though. Just undo that. And that's it. So the cable guides fell out the bottom bracket, which makes it a bit easier to clean, to be fair. Just a press fit. This off. I can take this rear caliper off actually while there's no cable attached to it as well. For the 5 seconds it takes. This braze on, super chunky. Not really a braze on, it's bolt on, but high quality. So we'll just take this off while it's here as well. I'm going to give this frame a really good polish. I think it's going to look fantastic with such large flat surfaces. The paintwork's in mostly good condition, so I'll take it off. Just put your bolt back on there before you lose it. I love the colour, it's like a mango, really, really nice. So we'll just take the front brake off as well while it's not done up here, we may as well do. Again, take 2 seconds. Just one bolt here, look at these forks. They're crazy. I've never seen one of these before. I guess they're designed for sort of budding time trialists and whatnot for aero, but I've never seen one before. They look great. I guess it's an acquired taste though. There you go. Not seized either, so that's great. And again, just put that bolt back on there before you lose it. Pretty much a bare frame now, to be fair. Just take the bottle cage off. I've got colour-coded Allen key here, which is great. 3mm on these tiny ones. So thinking about it, we may as well just take this fork out, to be fair. There's nothing connected to it now, so it'll just come straight out. Just whip this back out again. On there tight, they haven't been out for a while. Good. This fork will just drop out now. Nice and clean, look at that. The space is off. Oh. Immaculate condition in there, look at that. Perfect. I didn't actually intend to take that much off, but it only takes sort of 20 minutes anyway, so it just makes the cleaning job a lot easier. It's a bit extreme maybe, but hey. So now I can get a good look at the frame now, there's nothing on it. To be fair, it looks in really good shape. Let's just give it a wipe down there, then we can get to the polish. Uses Zep cleaner as usual. It's pretty clean to be fair, apart from around the bottom bracket, which is usual. Around the brakes where they've not been off. These marks up here should polish off very nicely. You've got some mango paint, it's a bit dark, but could mix that with some white. A couple of chips down here. We'll touch them up after we've cleaned it. So I'm just going to go straight with a polish now, car polish. And see if we can get rid of some of these marks and give it a good shine again. Good old auto limb, nice polish, works really well. Very nice. Just going to use some slightly heavier duty scratch remover on these marks here. This should get most of this off quite easily. It looks a bit better. Still a couple of marks on it. I don't really want to take this bottom bracket out if we don't have to, but there's some dirt around there. There's a nylon bush before you panic. Looks a bit better. Alright, looking pretty good now. So I'm just going to try and put a little bit of paint down here. Going to wipe it with some isopropyl before we put any paint on there. So you're not going to see this area of the bike anyway because the chain sits in the way, but just while it's here and it's accessible, see if we can get it improved a little bit. So I found a different one that I had to touch up paint. This is a bit of colour. Just squeeze it on and work it around with a nib. Like I say, it's not going to get the exact match. I mean, come on, it's 20 years old, but just to take the eye away from it, and it's behind the chainsaw anyway, so slightly better. Just giving the forks a quick polish as well. There's a bit of a mark on the inside of this one that won't come off, but it's a scratch of some sort. But apart from that, they come up quite nice. It's not going anywhere. It's living in the garage for the rest of its life, but treat the old girl right. I have to get it all over the forks you just polished as well. A little bit in this top cup. It's aluminium anyway, so it's not going to go rusty. A bit more grease, then we're going to put the expander on there. This one here, and then the top cap with its O-ring should hold everything in place for now. There we go. Spacers, and refit the bar. Good fit this is. There we go. And just fit this top cap back in. Check the headset for play. A little bit of play there, just tighten this up a smidge. A bit more. Well done. We'll just align these bolts later when we've got the wheel back in, so I'm just going to put my reminder strap on there so I don't forget to tighten them up at some point. Let us know what you think about this bike. I think it's probably a bit of a crazy idea, but Cannondale are famous for crazy ideas. Some of them took off, some of them didn't, some of them are still around. Lefty forks, stuff like that. I like them a lot, as you probably guessed. Next up, we're just going to put these parts through the Ultrasonic. I'm taking the rear derailleur apart, just scrape off the most of the rubbish for the jockey wheels first. It won't get that much off. Put the bushes out. There's only very basic bushes in this derailleur. So that will come off now in the Ultrasonic. It's a nice little derailleur this. The brakes are in fairly good condition apart from the corrosion on these bolts, but I don't think I've got anything else I can use with that, unfortunately. Chain set, I think I'll just whip these rings off, can make it a bit easier to clean. When you take the chain set apart, just remember which way around this inner ring goes, because it's not clear sometimes when you put them back together. This one's got the humps sort of facing on the inside. You'll see what I mean when you put it back together. Some of them are very clear, they've got a recess where the bolt sits in, but I'm going to put the cassette in as well, obviously. So these are hollow tech cranks. Are these actually hollow? Okay, we'll take the cassette off, put that in the Ultrasonic as well. And we're not putting a adult disc on this bike, sorry. Oh, there you go, it shatters anyway. When they get old, that's what they do, they just break into little fragments. A nice big Ultrasonic, you can get most of this in one go. Cassette as well. Just turn that ring halfway through. No real issues with these wheels, apart from just need a clean. Bearings feel really good. Cartridge bearing hubs, quick release, good as new, stainless. Very nice. Bearings are fantastic in this, so we're just going to give it a clean, that's it. They've come up lovely, they have. Perfect. One thing is, none of the tyre logos are lined up with this valve, so I'm going to sort that out because it looks good. It just doesn't look right, so I'll sort that out. Like that. Same on the back wheel, just going to clean it up, no issues on this. Also better. Right, just going to take this magnet off because we don't need it anymore. So Ultrasonic's finished. So don't expect miracles from an Ultrasonic. It does a good job, but it won't come out immaculately clean every single time. They do need a bit of a wipe down. Right. Especially chain rings, but like you see, it comes off pretty straightforward then once it's all been loosened. When it comes to brakes, this bit of tape that you see here is packaging. They shouldn't even be on here. They're on nearly every single bike. It's literally packaging, so when it sits in the box or retail or whatever, this bit here doesn't mark the caliper, so it doesn't need to be on there. We'll clean this off. This one doesn't have it, it's fell off already. Sets come up quite nice. So we're going to put a new chain on it. It doesn't need it, but when you get everything so clean as this, a rusty old chain is not going to do it any favours, so we'll just chuck a new one on for a few quid. So I'm not charging the customer anything for this, I'm doing it purely for the love of it really, to be fair, and obviously to make a hopefully a decent video for you guys. So you know, it's just costing me money. So it's only a few quid on a chain and a bit of bar tape and obviously time, but These things, I don't mind doing things like this every now and again, but I'm certainly not a charity, unfortunately. Look at these. Super short red radio. Super short, probably a 28 tooth capacity on this, I'm guessing. Not like those derailleurs of now, they're massive long things. I'll blow this down with an airline, but it's already coming up really nice. This is the remains of the old sticker that you get telling you how high to set the derailleur. That comes off as well. Don't know if you can get it where you live, but this stuff's really good for it. But it does melt your gloves. Being a bit more stubborn, so we're using a plastic razor blade on this. And just clean it off. Doesn't mark anything with plastic ones. There you go, perfect. Going to blow these through the airline now and then re-lube, put them back on. That's all clean now, looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is lubricate the pivots on the brakes and the derailleurs, let that soak in for a little. Reassemble the rear mech and then put it all back on the bike. I'll obviously reassemble the chain set. So whether the derailleurs and brakes, I'll just use TFT on the pivots, just give it a bit of a soak in there. Any basically pivot points on the derailleur. It's very similar to GT85 this is, but just a little bit thicker. Just wipe the excess off when it's ready. Try not to get it over the blocks, but there's a pivot here, and a bit where there's spring. I'll move that back on this quick release. It's a bit rusty, but it still works nice. And just work that lube in just like that. Make sure these work. Yeah, they're fine. Reset them back down. That's that done. So we'll just let that soak for a minute and then wipe off the excess. Clean the brake blocks, put it back together. Nice and tight, 40 Newton meters. Believe you me, I've done enough of these to know how tight they want to be. 33 years. A bit of dirt on this quick release. CS6500 cassette. On the chain set, make sure this pin sits behind the crank. Yep. Just put one bolt through at the top, gives you a helping hand. Put your finger on there, turn it over. Remember I said about this, there's the bulge side and the inverted sort of side. So the bulge side was on the back. And this tab down here goes behind the crank as well, so that sits like this. And then get one of these started. So if you get any clicking noises around your chain set, sometimes it's worth putting a bit of grease between these chain rings, just a drop of grease. And the bolts themselves, I say this is hanging on the wall, so certainly won't be needing it. This one's not tightening, so I need another tool. If you get one that doesn't tighten, you'll need a chain ring tool here. This holds the back of the bolt into these slots here, and then you can tighten it up. Once it bites, it's fine, it holds itself then. It's come up almost like new. So with the rear derailleur, when you take it apart, it's worthwhile keeping the bolts where they came out, because some of these are different lengths. We know this is the top one. It also needs a drop of Loctite when you put it back together as well. Not too much, but these stupid bottles you can't get a drop out. So we're looking for the G pulley for the top. Tiny drop of grease on this bush that sits in the middle. I don't think it makes much difference, but we'll do it anyway. That's there. Plate either side of it. I say there's no real bearing in this at all. It's just a bush. And these are not directional. Some of the jockey wheels are directional, so make sure you get them the right way around. Take your bottom bolt out. Put that somewhere you know where it goes. Top bolt goes through there. Top through there. Bolt through there. And then screws into the derailleur. Like so. And just repeat on the bottom. Drop a Loctite. You can get it in a stick that you just rub on. I'm going to try that, see if it's any better than the bottle, because I don't like the way it comes out. It's not very controllable. Nice and tight on these. Okay, you've got Loctite, but you definitely don't want jockey wheels falling out. Believe you me, I've had that happen before. Leave you stranded. So that looked like 2 minutes on the video, but that was probably an hour's work to clean all that. Reassembly time. Just a bit of grease on the back of this bolt here. Be careful you're not smashing your B screw against the stop when you put it back on. So lift it up right like this. Make sure it stops against its stop like that, and then just keep tightening it. Feels great. Lovely. Front derailleur, dead easy. We need to set this once we've got the cranks back on, but we'll just get it in place loosely for now. Okay, so we'll set that one once we've got the chain set on. So we'll move it out of the way at the top first so we don't foul in the way. A little bit of grease on these splines, just a little bit. And the crank. With Ultrasonic, make sure this washer's fitted. Look at this orange, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? Well, mango, I guess, but I love it. It's such a nice colour. Not putting any pedals back on this bike because the clipless pedals that came on it are going onto the other bike that I actually picked up to be serviced. Beautiful, look at that bottom bracket go. On with the wheels now. Comes together very quickly once you've cleaned it and got it all ready to go. So it only takes 20 minutes to get it down to the bare frame when you're stripping it. But putting it together is about the same. Just obviously setting the gears and brakes. A couple of cables on this one, or one cable. That's on. Good. I looked at the value of this bike last night. They're pretty cheap now. I mean, they're obviously pretty old and whatnot, but I think you pick them up for sort of £200 or £300 now, to be fair. I don't know if the customer's selling this or not. I don't know, they've got no intention of using it, but it'll be a fully serviced bike for somebody. I'm hoping this just presses back in and holds itself in place. So that just presses in, the cable tension will hold it in place. Now we can set this front mech to the correct height. So you're looking for a 1 to 3 millimeter gap between the top of the cage and there. So it looks about right there. Just nip it up loosely. Check the alignment, it needs to be parallel. It's not. It is now. So when you set one to sort of 1 to 3 millimeter, but you need to check it because some of these tooth profiles go up and down. So you need to make sure you've got good clearance all the way around, which we do. That's fine there. Tighten that up. Don't go crazy tight with it, and then we can put the cable back in. And just drop this back in there. That's good. Give it a quick try on the lever. It should be about right. Yep. We need to get this cable back through the rear derailleur. Once you get it through here, it's okay. But just got to be careful not to fray it. There you go. Get that in. Make sure you're in the rest of your stops. And then put some tension on this. Just going to put an end cap on first to stop it all falling to pieces. EP1s are absolutely awesome tool. Plier wise, people ask, not all part tool is a Junior. I do like Junior just as well, pretty much, to be fair. Some of them there's not much in it, both blue. I think Junior have gone to red now, I don't know why. I'm guessing part weren't happy. So just pull that through with a gentle bit of tension. Get it about right. We have got a barrel adjuster obviously to adjust it with. Get it nice and tight, that's good. Go one click on the lever. That looks like that'll work. Get this rear brake back on. Bit of grease on this back bolt. Put that in the frame. It's pretty easy to put this on before you put the wheel in, to be fair. But if you put it on before you put your wheel in, you can spin the caliper around instead of having to spin the nut because access can be a bit restricted. Not too bad on this one. That's about right. And just get it basically centered by eye. Obviously the distance on both sides of this needs to be the same. We'll fine tune it when we get the cable on there. The brakes will come up nice and shiny. Considering they're a Cannondale sort of own brand. There's a mark on here. I think I'll get rid of that. A black mark I can get rid of here. It's hard to see on camera, but there is a mark. There you go, I'll come straight off. There you go. That's just a bit of scratch remover, T-cut type thing. Perfect. And the scratch repair that we did behind here, you can't see it, like I said, it's behind the chainring, so looking super clean now, very nice. So with the front caliper, again grease on this bolt. Not so critical on this bike again because it's never going out again, but very critical on yours. We've got to run out of 5mm Allen keys. We've got 7 of them. Never have too many 5mm Allen keys. And our tool of choice is Weha, not Weira, Weha. Awesome Allen keys. Not the cheapest, but you got to rely on them in this game. Looking good. We can just run this brake cable. Again, we've swapped sides now, so we're UK spec. Front brake on the left. Goes through there and down the back of here. I say this is the old back brake cable, so the bit that had a bit of corrosion on it is down here now, so you don't use that. Get this roughly set on the bar so it feels about right. That's nice. Make sure your quick release is closed. Pinch the brakes on, pull the bit of cable through, and then let it go a couple of millimeters, otherwise you'll be too tight. Lift it up lightly, then try your lever. Far too loose, so I need a bit more through there. Probably enough. And nip it up lightly, try your lever. not centered. So we'll get it centered first, then we can do that. Okay, so I've just centered that on that bolt on the back. Still a little bit loose, bit more cable. That feels nice. There is an adjustment screw up here for a very fine adjustment of balance, so we can play with that. It's not a million miles off. I'll just cut this rubbish bit of cable off now. And again, just an end cap. Done. So there's a 2mm grub screw up here. You need to tune. 9 times out of 10 they're seized up, but this one's actually okay. So just very small adjustments to get it centered. There we go. Perfect. Right, now we can run this back brake cable now. And again, just a bit of cable grease on this, just Shimano cable grease. It's nice. Put the housings on. Sorry if this is not in focus, but it can't focus on a cable. Run that into your lever, make sure it's home properly in a minute. And so these always go further than you think when you put them in. It goes in there and then like that. It's got a good sort of 5-10 mil to go in there. And that's in. Run this into the frame. And put those cable donuts back on. And then just run this last bit of housing. Right, it's in. Hook it into the frame. Find it. Oh, yeah, there you are. Good attention. Make sure it's properly seated in your brake lever. Like that. Again, just squeeze it on loosely. Make sure your quick release is shut. Back it off a smidge. And tighten that up. Gently and try it on the lever. A little bit loose, pull a bit more through. We can use the barrel adjuster, but I prefer to send bikes out with them being unused, so customers have the option later. Just check the lever again. Feels nice. Good. Looks better, a bit more on this side. A very fine adjustment, you can see how much I'm turning that. There you go. Happy with that. Slip on the beloved laser. So make sure it's about centered there. And then it's literally just a case of spinning it around until you see it in the middle of the tyre. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Perfect. And we can just torque these up. I'm going 6 Nm. Again, there's no spec written on the stem, but 6 Nm is pretty much standard. Done. Take your beautiful laser off. Check these, I know these are tight. Just going to put some tape on these cables. It's much easier without gloves when you're trying to do this bit. Nice and tight. Make sure it sits in this groove that's in the bar as well. So you can wrap the whole thing if you want. It's just a bit wasteful for tape. Just say, make sure it's in the groove. Don't go over there because we're not going to wrap that bit. And that's in place. And just repeat that on the other side. Okay, so all we've got left to do now is wrap the bars, put the chain on, just run through the gears. That's it. So I'm just going to put a new chain on now. Anything up to 9-speed, I use Sunrace chains. I find them perfectly adequate, to be fair. So we'll just go through the gears now. All right. It's slow coming down, so we've got too much tension. Too much. There you go. Front. Not bad at all. There you go. That's fine. There we go, looks a bit fresher. Much better than that horrible white stuff that was on it before. So that's the bike finished now. There's another one done then. So a bit of an odd one really. It didn't really need servicing, to be fair. I just like the bike and thought might make an interesting video for you. So if you did like the video, then please click the subscribe and like button, all that great stuff. It really does help the channel grow. Really good, strong place now. You know, the growth in sort of 2-3 months has been phenomenal, and the support and comments by everybody is fantastic. So I really, really appreciate that. Really enjoying it, and just stay tuned for more. Thanks very much.